All right, let's get right into it and welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are totally demystifying network ports and the hidden journey of your web traffic. We're going to look way beyond basic web addresses to figure out the invisible architecture that actually makes cloud computing and, honestly, network security even possible.
So, picture this. You sit down, type Amazon.com into your browser, and hit enter. Boom! It feels instantaneous, right? Almost like magic. But what is actually happening behind the scenes there? We instantly get a web page back, sure, but this incredible lightning-fast speed relies on something absolutely crucial called network ports. If you really want to grasp how modern tech works, understanding how your device knows exactly where to send and receive data without just getting totally lost in global traffic is essential.
Okay, first things first, your browser literally doesn't understand words like google.com or facebook.com. Those domain names, they're designed specifically for us humans. So your browser immediately asks the nearest DNS server, that's a domain name system, to translate that name into a numerical IP address. Because without that IP address, your data packet is essentially flying blind. It needs those specific numbers to know where it's supposed to go.
Now think of this IP address exactly like a physical location in the real world. It breaks down into two distinct parts, a network address and a host address. You really can't just have one or the other. The network address is required to find the correct general area on the internet, while the host address is used to pinpoint the exact server destination within that area.
To use a real-life analogy, think of the network address as getting your data packet to the correct city. And once you're in the right city, well, you still need to know exactly where to go, right? That's where the host address comes in. It drops your data right outside the specific house, or in our case, the specific server you're trying to reach. So you've navigated the entire globe and you've arrived at the correct physical door.
But here's the catch. Once your data actually arrives outside the server, it finds a bustling house with multiple applications running simultaneously. It's not just some empty building. Inside this server house, you've got web applications running, mobile app data being processed, mailing servers constantly pinging. It's very much like a busy hostel where different people, say Varun, Tarun, or Ranjit, are all living under the exact same roof.
Which brings us to a pretty major routing problem. How does the data actually know who to talk to inside the house? Think about it. If you just stand at the front door and shout at the top of your lungs, everyone in the hostel might come out. Or, maybe nobody will. You need a highly specific way to ask for the exact application you want. Just getting to the server simply isn't enough.
And that right there brilliantly illustrates the role of network ports. A network port serves as a virtual endpoint. It tells the incoming data exactly which service it needs to interact with. When your data reaches this port, that is the exact location where the searching process officially stops. You found the city, you found the house, and now you found the specific room of the service you needed.
So, to put it simply, the IP address gets you to the server's front door, but the port number connects you to the precise application you want inside. They work perfectly together. The IP acts as the general locator, but the port acts as the specific identifier. You literally can't have effective communication across the web without both of these pieces working in tandem.
For example, let's say you want to load a standard unencrypted web page. You knock on port 80. The server knows instantly, port 80, they want web traffic. But if you're trying to access a mail server to send a message, you'd call out for port 25. By just changing that one little number at the end of the IP address, you completely change which service you're interacting with.
Now, what's really interesting about this architecture is how consistent it is. We hear a lot about IP addresses evolving, like moving from 32-bit IPv4 to those massive 128-bit IPv6 addresses, because we literally ran out of room. But port numbers? No matter what IP system you're using, port numbers are strictly always 16-bit. That does not change.
And because of this strict 16-bit limit, we can calculate the exact number of ports that exist. 2 to the power of 16 gives us exactly 65,536 possible network ports on any given device. Whether we're talking about a massive Google server farm or just the smartphone in your pocket, that is the hard limit. Since computers logically start counting at 0 instead of 1, every single device has a fixed exact range of ports from 0 to 65,535. Now, to maintain order and make sure global networks can communicate smoothly without just total chaotic overlap, this massive block of numbers is divided up into some very specific categories. Let's look at how they break this down.
You've got your well-known ports from 0 to 1023 for standard apps, then registered ports from 1024 to 49151 for third-party tools, and finally, the dynamic or private ports in the upper range, from 49152 to 65535, which are auto-assigned by your operating system.
Zooming in on those well-known ports, these guys are universally standardized. Traffic hitting port 80 is always looking for HTTP. Port 443 wants a secure HTTPS page. Doing a file transfer, you're using port 20 and 21. Secure shell is 22, and mail is 25. It basically acts as a universally agreed-upon language across the entire internet.
Meanwhile, third-party companies and software devs use the registered ports so they don't step on anyone's toes. Actually, if you're a developer, you probably know this. Accessing a local React project usually defaults to port 3000, and a Node.js backend uses 5000. Massive companies like Oracle, SQL Server, and Adobe all rely on this specific range to keep their apps running smoothly without interrupting the standard web traffic.
All right, to truly understand how this shapes the internet we use every day, let's trace the complete round-trip loop. Knowing the definitions is one thing, but seeing the actual handshake between a source machine, like your laptop, and a destination server, like Google, is where it gets really cool. How do they coordinate this?
First up, before your request even leaves your house, the operating system on your device grabs a random dynamic port from that upper private range. Let's just say it randomly grabs port 52132. It slaps this port onto your source IP address because the destination server is going to need a return address. It needs to know exactly which door on your computer actually requested the data.
Next, your request zips across the internet to Google's destination IP address. It enters the server house and immediately walks up to well-known port 80. The server processes this, packages up the web page, and fires it right back, and it targets your unique dynamic port, that 52132 we mentioned, to deliver the website directly to the exact browser tab you opened.
And that creates the final successful handshake. You've got your source IP and your automatically generated dynamic ports securely linking up with the destination server's IP and its well-known port. This dual-layered location tracking, knowing the exact house and the exact person inside at both ends, is literally the secret sauce that makes the internet function seamlessly.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to think about what's happening on your own machine right this very second. You're connected to a server to watch this, so ask yourself, right now, how many dynamic ports is your device silently managing in the background, just constantly opening and closing virtual doors to keep you connected? It is a massive, totally invisible operation happening right under your fingertips every single second. Pretty amazing, right?